Tonight, we wind down to a very pivotal point in the season as we are 2 races away from the beginning of determining who wins the 2023 Earl Ross Cup. Good evening, folks, and welcome to another live production for Season 4 of the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. It is the Wing Snob 250 at Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas. Round 12 of 20 and round 12 of 13 in the regular season. And now, of course, we go to our faces here. Welcome to the commentary booth. I'm your main play-by-play and broadcaster guy, Regan McCauley from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. On the other side here is color commentator. He's been here since the very beginning in Jordy Carraher. And now, Jordy, we are coming off a very thrilling throwback race at North Wilkesboro Speedway where 21 cars with schemes of many of motorsport's greatest superstars fought back and forth in our first short track race in the iRacing era. I used to say first and only short track race, but technically we still have Richmond coming up, so we'll just stick to first short track race in the iRacing era. And the race was about what you'd expect in good old short track racing, with kind of a sluggish first half, but then the second half was ever so slightly cleaner. 14 cautions and 71 of the 267 laps under caution, but when the green flag was out, we witnessed many close battles across the field, and we got to see the 2 best statistical drivers this season battle hard for the win, beginning with Scott Bailey, who won the pole and led the most laps at 161 of 267. He ran away from the field for most of the race, but it still wasn't enough to earn him his first win of the season, as points leader Corbin MacAulay eventually found his groove from his 6th place qualifying result, dominating the second half, leading 95 laps en route to his 6th victory of the season and his first since June 13th. He currently sits 125 points ahead of Scott Bailey in the points, so what matters the most right now is the playoff cut line, where almost everyone without a win looks relatively safe points-wise, but with 2 races remaining until the end of the regular season, Jordy, anything is possible, especially with Daytona coming up next Tuesday.
I wouldn't even venture to look that far ahead, Riggs. I think we've got ourselves a good old Texas shootout coming here tonight. And, you know, there's guys that we'll get to in a little bit who will have kind of a missed opportunity here tonight with not being in tonight's race. We'll have to win Daytona next week if they want to have any hope of getting in. But how many times have we talked about it over the last couple of weeks now, Riggs, since coming back from that 1-week break as well, that everything's just going to get tighter and tighter now. There's fewer opportunities to actually make a move. And with, you know, Daytona being kind of the super speedway environment, Texas could be, you know, another opportunity. Well, it is the other opportunity for someone to really make a difference here and really kind of set themselves up for the playoffs or potentially upset that balance that we've been talking about.
Indeed so, indeed so. Very true facts there, Jordy. As we take a look here at the schedule where we're at right now, race 12 of 20 in the entire season, race 12 of 13 in the regular season. After tonight, there will be only 1 race remaining in the regular season, an intermediate cookie cutter tonight, and a super speedway to cap things off next Tuesday night. Expectations for tonight aren't high for those below the cut line, knowing what we've seen at intermediates this season, but like you were saying there, Jordy, good old Texas shootout tonight. You never know what could happen here in the Canadian Motorsports Network. As we take a look at last week's results at North Wilkesboro Speedway, we have already talked about Corbin MacAulay and Scott Bailey, so we'll head over to 3rd place there at the end of the podium. Darcy Ford's number 64 Wing Snob Chevrolet, carrying tonight's title sponsor, claimed his 3rd top 10 finish in a row, and his first podium result of the season with a stellar run. He also qualified 5th and grabbed 8 stage points. Matthew Patek's streak of bad luck ended with a 4th place finish, healing a snake bite that saw 0 top 10 finishes for 4 races in a row after his Atlanta victory, his first career victory in the NASCAR Series. Rounding out the top 5 in impressive fashion was Andy Hurdle, and for an iRacing next-gen rookie, the number 7 car qualified 15th and surged to the front while carrying a Formula 1 throwback livery, so that's 2 top 10s in a row for Andy Hurdle, and then the home state man and defending champion Ty Higginbottom scored his 3rd top 5 qualifying result in 4 races and earned his first top 10 since June 6th at Michigan. Towards the bottom of the top 10, you got guys like Mark Cox and Daniel Cudmore below the cut line and will unfortunately not be attending tonight's Wing Snob 250. They both claimed top 10 finishes after mediocre qualifying runs, and rookie Justin Belmonte finished 8th after qualifying 3rd. Jordy, I'll let you take the rest of the way with those whose positions were rather left to be desired.
Yeah, so, well, before we get there, Jared Ireland, who'd won previously at Kansas, obviously has his playoff spot secured, qualified 4th, but ultimately rounded out the top 10, a few laps down. And there's a lot of that as you go through the rest of the field, as you got Jonathan Peden there in 11th, 3 laps down as well. Then you get the 4-lap down pair of Dylan Baum and Michael Wolford. Then you get guys who, had some earlier incidents as well. Jose Mercado finishing a few more laps down there in 14th after qualifying 11th. He's going to need a big one either tonight or in Daytona to continue his playoff streak. Jason Butler, a guy on the bubble right now, he ultimately finishes 15th, 12 laps down. Tom Janikowski, 14 in 16th. Then Ryan Gibson, a guy that I was kind of looking at as a possibility there last week. Ultimately, he got caught up in a couple incidents, finished 32 laps down. Ditto with Kyle Knoll and Mike Marini, the latter very much in that group who needs to do something either tonight or next Tuesday to progress to the playoffs. And then you've got Hunter Young and Jonathan Warr, both of whom also early retirements. And then the one non-starter in CD Mangrum, who I believe is back this time around.
I can confirm he is back this time around, looking like he's in 5th place here based on practice results so far tonight at Texas Motor Speedway. But taking a look now at the driver's standings, Corbin MacAulay continues to steamroll the field as per usual, but that could definitely take a turn once we get to the Earl Ross Cup Playoffs, because again, everyone's points get reset based on the amount of points that have been obtained from stage points and winning races and such. But before we get to, obviously still got, these 2 races left. 4 of the drivers are locked in with wins, including 2 rookies. Scott Bailey is second in the overall points and is the best of the rest when it comes to having 0 wins. And it's astounding that the 88 hasn't visited victory lane yet, but it could very well be a case of Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus where they wait for when it matters the most, and that's pretty much how it was when they went out and got those 5 championships in a row in the NASCAR Cup Series. Between 2nd and 7th, saw numerous +1 and -1 changes in the overall points, with Bailey, Jared Ireland, and Kyle Knoll gaining, while Belmonte, Paytack, and reigning rookie of the year CD Mangrum dropping spots. Ryan Gibson gained 2 spots despite only his 17th place finish in North Wilkesboro, but 7 stage points helped his cause. And Jordy, I'll let you take it the rest of the way with what you see and what your thoughts are relating to the cut line, as there seems to be just one driver in particular there that might need to panic a little, as again, one of the upcoming races, well, maybe even tonight, who knows what will happen, could very well cause his spot to be stolen.
Yeah, I was literally just in the process of figuring out some bubble numbers here, and Jason Butler, he's got pretty comfortable edge there with a 17-point gap on both Dan Cudmore and Mike Marini. Of course, we've mentioned the fact that Dan Cudmore not racing tonight, ditto with Mark Cox there in 19th, 21 points out. And again, we already know both of those guys are going to need to win at Daytona effectively if they want to have a shot at this. And, a guy I'm interested in tonight is Jose Mercado. And let me tell you why, because he's a guy that's, again, he's been in all 3 playoffs to this point. He's a guy that somehow manages to find the performance exactly when he needs it. So this is a guy with a little bit of history of performing in the clutch. I remember the Talladega win in season 2. I would say look out for the 41 potentially tonight. And if he comes through, as you say, suddenly things get a little bit tighter in that bubble playoff picture. Things relatively secure, I would say, through 14 right now, I would have to think.
For sure. Now we take a very quick look here at the rookie standings as Justin Belmonte leads the way by 15 points over Jared Ireland. Kyle Knoll is 31 aback of Ireland, and Dylan Baum is likely on pace to be the bottom rookie of the regular season. but we'll have to see what the reset is like once we get to the Earl Ross Cup Playoffs, of course. But before we get to the cars on the grid and getting these engines fired up, we're going to very, very quickly talk about what Texas Motor Speedway is all about. And yeah, good timing right there. It says it. Welcome to Texas Motor Speedway. Absolutely perfect timing right there. A complete opposite.
Yeah.
Commentator's jinx, yes, right there. Actually, maybe it was a commentator's jinx, but the complete opposite. But anyways, one of NASCAR's more controversial tracks on the calendar, quite literally the catchphrase with fans nowadays is turn it into a Walmart, which is exactly what Corbin MacAulay said when I asked what his expectations were for tonight's race back when we interviewed him after his North Wilkesboro victory, but our moral and professional obligations recommend we keep away from that, I would think. But at 1.5 miles and 2.4 kilometers, with corners banked at 20 degrees in turns 1 and 2, and 24 degrees in turns 3 and 4, it's one of the largest tracks on the calendar based on crowd capacity, although, of course, more and more of the grandstands have been removed as the years have went on. Track was built in 1995, opened in 1996, ironically being the facility to cause North Wilkesboro to lose its NASCAR dates, and it's as if the racing gods weren't happy because the track had to be reconfigured twice in its early years due to lap 1 crashes in both of NASCAR's first 2 Cup races held at the facility. In 2017, the track was repaved and turns 1 and 2 were profiled to have reduced banking but a wider surface width, which drivers and fans alike have gagged at ever since, if that's a way to put it. The next-gen setup on iRacing, based on what drivers have been saying and such, and evaluations overall, it's an oddball here at Texas Motor Speedway, as turns 1 and 2 usually require letting off and even downshifting, while turns 3 and 4 on fresh tires can allow for full throttling, which, in that case, the low banking turns 1 and 2 can cause that right front tire to quickly burn up, and that full throttling through turns 3 and 4 can cause the rear tires to burn up, so tire wear is going to be crucial tonight between how much you turn and how much speed you carry. But on a more positive note, if there even is any, Texas is one of the faster tracks on the schedule, and that front stretch dogleg can make things interesting. So I would say from a fan perspective or even driver perspective, whatever it may be, there may not be any positive note unless MacAulay decides to completely destroy the field for the 1 gazillionth time. So that about does it right there. Literally, as soon as I'm about to finish, it goes right back to welcome to Texas Motor Speedway. So with all that being said, little track review there, evaluations, reports, and such from drivers and fans. We're now going to head down to the grid and give the command to get these drivers to fire the engines, and we'll get underway here with round 12 of 20, the Wing Snob 250 at Texas Motor Speedway. And with that, the engines have been fired up here on the grid. Dylan Baum leading them away here off of pit road. And that is extremely loud. There we go. That's a lot better here. But we will get to the starting grid here at Texas Motor Speedway. We will begin on the pole. I don't know how many times he's won a pole here. It's somewhere in between the 3 and 5 range. I wasn't able to check here beforehand, didn't at the time. But the number 3 Toyota of rookie Dylan Baum starting on the pole alongside the guy who's won almost every single intermediate race, or maybe even all of them, my memory serves correctly here. It's the number 17 Chevrolet of Corbin MacAulay to his high side, and then on the next row here, we got the number 6 Ford of Justin Belmonte, who won an intermediate back at Auto Club earlier in the season. Then you got the number 1 Chevrolet of C.D. Magrum starting in 4th, the reigning Rookie of the Year.
Well, you said between 3 and 5 poles. That is pole number 4 for Dylan Baum as we move on to row number 3 now. And you've got Scott Bailey rounding out the top 5. Season 1 winner here at Texas, it has to be noted. Followed by Season 3 winner and defending Earl Ross Cup champion Ty Higginbotham on his outside in 6th in the number 97 Toyota. On to row 4 now. We've got 7 starting in 7th in the form of Andy Hurdle back in the Doralson Ventures Chevy. And he'll have the guy that I was talking about in the pre-race, Jose Mercado, will be his company starting in 8th tonight.
Moving on now to round out the top 10, we got the number 33 Chevrolet of Jonathan Peden. Alongside him, another Chevrolet, and the number 36 of Michael Wolford to wrap up the top 10. Moving on to the next row here, we got the number 13 of Jared Ireland starting in 11th. Got some momentum there coming off that victory a few weeks ago back at Kansas Speedway. And to his outside, the guy who is right above the cut line, 17 points above, the number 10 Chevrolet of Jason Butler, who will be looking to gain some good points, especially with the absences of Daniel Cudmore and Mark Cox.
And moving on to row 7, we've got the number 77 of Hunter Young on the inside. He will start in 13th. And outside of him for company, he'll have the guy who won here in Season 2 on his way to his Earl Ross Cup, the number 64 Chevy of Darcy Ford. On to row 8 now, and in 15th, we have Matthew Paytak, who's long been secured as it relates to the playoff picture with that win at Atlanta we were talking about earlier, but number 21 Chevy starts 15th tonight. He'll have the number 12 of Mike Marini on his outside. He'll start 16th in a race where he really needs to make something happen.
Indeed so, and then 17th, the number 15 Toyota Kyle Knoll, to his outside the number 93 Chevrolet of Tom Janikowski, and then rounding it all out is the number 23 Chevrolet of Ryan Gibson in 19th. And with all that being said, the pace car is going to roll off here, and we're going to get underway here at Texas Motor Speedway for the Wing Snob 250. 2 races remaining in the regular season. We are underway.
And Riggs, it'll be very interesting to see, like, we've got a pretty competitive top of the grid here. We'll see how many times have we said you can't win it in lap 1, but you can certainly lose it. But it looks like it's already some close racing here, as I'll throw it back to you on the back straight.
3 wide for the lead down the back straightaway in just lap 1. No, McCauley's going to get the run on the high side. He will go to the lead. Justin Belmonte making the move up to 2nd here over Dylan Baum. Scott Bailey clearing the way there back and forth, so McCauley's going to lead the first lap here. Baum going to try and go to the high side to battle Belmonte once again. It'll be barely close to try to know. Baum's going to fall back. Bailey will be right down his inside. Magrum trying to make the move there in his number 1 A1 Grassroots Chevrolet, but he's going to stick it in behind. McCauley's going to leap away here by almost half a second, almost immediately here on lap 2 of 166. So again, as we saw in the first couple races of the season, it's McCauley versus Belmonte back out once again.
And we should note here tonight, Riggs, as we're on to, I believe, lap number 3 here now, stages 52 and 104 before a 62-lap finish to get us to our 166 total here for the night.
Indeed so, and about trouble there in the back. That's the number 33 of Jonathan Peden getting loose off of turn 2. But he's going to be able to keep his car going straight as he's now back in 11th place. Battle here between Matthew Paytak and Hunter Young for the 15th spot. Paytak's going to clear the way now. Ryan Gibson will try to get up there and battle alongside Young. Now we got a battle here between Jason Butler and Jared Ireland here for 8th place. Again, Butler trying to take advantage of the points here, about getting in the outside wall there coming off of turn 2. Again, I was saying earlier, the number 10, 17 points above the cut line. Again, we are dealing with the absence of 2 drivers who are below the cut line and will very much need a win at Daytona if they want a shot to get into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. But then again, though, you just never know what could happen. Again, 17 points, again with those 2 absences, is maybe not something to be too scared of, but it's still definitely a great opportunity for him to take advantage here. And again, too, Andy Hurdle we get up to him right here, is 15th in the overall standings, and I wouldn't say he would be too scared right now, but then again, though, if we got two drivers, like a winner here tonight and at Daytona, who are both guys below the cut line, that could easily cause both him and Butler to be out of the conversation here.
Yeah, I mean, this is ultimately, this is where the performances need to happen. As I was mistaken in him going back to the Doralton livery. He's stuck with the throwback here another week. He said he might do that, and he's absolutely done so. Not a bad idea to throw it back to 1992 with that one. It turned out a top 5 for him last week at North Wilkesboro. Obviously, very different situation here at Texas tonight, but as you say, not entirely out of the woods as it relates to the playoff picture just yet. So Andy Hurdle, he's going to want to stick around here as much as possible just to kind of solidify his spot, so to speak.
Indeed, and looking towards the back there, looked like Young trying to get back behind there on Mike Marini, but he's going to stick in behind. And as we go back to the front of the pack here, Belmonte starting to catch up here for the lead against Corbin MacAulay. And again, as you were saying, there are some guys deciding to keep their throwback schemes on. But I mean, to be fair, though, the liveries that we saw back at North Wilkesboro Speedway last Tuesday night was pretty visually appealing, I guess is a way to put it. Again, if I'm looking back here through the field, that'd be Andy Hurdle in one of them. And then I think I saw... trying to remember who I was seeing back here that might also have it. Oh, yeah, it was the 88 of Scott Bailey still running that Dale Earnhardt Jr. I believe it's 2008 National Guard paint scheme. So some guys are really just, I guess, in love with those throwback schemes that they put on. I mean, it was us too. We were loving what the drivers were really going for, trying to, show off some of motorsport's greatest drivers in history.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got absolutely no objection to them continuing it here at all. Like, that's a kind of beautiful thing of us moving to iRacing here as well, is that there's a little bit more flexibility in what we're able to produce in terms of liveries, because before it was more or less just trying to mimic it. Now you can get right into the fine details with it, as we're looking to get potentially into the fine details of another lead battle here.
Indeed so. MacAulay and Belmonte there separated by about 1 to 200ths of a second right there. Bailey just kind of waiting patiently behind them to see if anything happens, and we're getting a couple different movements here. We're getting some good old pack racing here towards the bottom of the top 10. Jeez, you can really see there. Yeah, now we're getting the battle for the lead here between MacAulay and Belmonte. We're getting two different areas where we're getting quite battles. I mean, if you look at the intervals of the top 3 versus everyone else, you got MacAulay and Belmonte going at it. Belmonte very close there along the left rear quarter panel of MacAulay, and then Bailey just, again, being patient there. And then you go all the way back to Magram, all the way back to where everyone else is, and got some really close battles here as Jared Ireland just barely ahead here, the number 15 of Kyle Knoll. Two rookies going at it right there, and then you can see right here that'd be Darcy Ford, Jonathan Peden going at it for 11th place. Ford coming off a very, very solid third place finish, and Peden in the wall right there. But again, Ford coming off that third place finish back in North Wilkesboro. Not too shabby there for the number 64 Chevrolet, who is sponsoring Wing Snob, the title sponsor for tonight's race at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, and while we've got a minute here, I took a couple minutes during the pre-race to kind of go back through a little bit of Texas history here as it relates to our series. Obviously very different now in the iRacing sphere compared to the Heat series, but I've got those 3 top 5s just for kind of past reference, maybe a couple of guys to watch a little bit later on. As mentioned before, Scott Bailey won in season 1. Darcy Ford winning in season 2, Ty Higginbotham last year. But if you go through those top 5s, you see a lot of familiar names. Season 1, it goes Bailey, Ford, Chad Hyder, who's unfortunately not racing with us anymore, Corbin MacAulay 4th, Ryan Gibson 5th. Season 2, Darcy Ford wins, Jose Mercado 2nd, Corbin MacAulay 3rd, Scott Bailey 4th, Ryan Gibson again 5th. Then you look at season 3 again. Ty Higginbotham picking up the win there last year. Jacob Nelson second, not racing this year. CD Mangrum third. Jonathan Peden fourth. Mike Nickens rounding out that top 5. So you definitely see, the cream of the crop really kind of showing themselves here at a track like Texas. And again, you start to identify some familiar trends as you go. And, we're seeing a couple of those names in the top 3 and 4 and really 5 already if you throw Ty Higginbotham into the mix. And so, yeah, maybe not an entirely surprising opening section of this race, but still a long, long way to go.
Indeed, again, 166 laps to get the job done here, and some pretty long stages there as well. We'll have to see what happens when we get to green flag. Pit stops, of course, not sure on when exactly those pit windows would be. I would imagine maybe around halfway through or so we might be a little short time away from something like that potentially. But wondering if I might be dealing with some potential connection conflicts right there, because cars keep disappearing every now and then here on my screen. But we are still fully going, so I won't be too worried on that. Seems like things are just kind of keeping it clear. It doesn't help that I have a lot of things open on my computer here, so I mean that's just the way it is right there. But again, right back to on the track, Dylan Baum really going high up there in turns 1 and 2. Again, the pole sitter all the way back to now 7th place, as there's Kyle Knoll to his inside, barely. Okay, looked at Baum tried to clear the way right there, but no, he was not clear, as Knoll barely squeezed right there underneath him. Baum, the number 3, will be able to clear the 15 now through the dog leg. Darcy Ford there trying to make the move behind Andy Hurdle at the bottom of the top 10. He will now, as Hurdle slides up. No, Ford's going to clear his way back in right there, and they're going to all remain single file. Meanwhile, MacAulay and Melmani there were relatively close for the most part, but now it's dropped back to about a second. I do wonder if something may have happened there, so we're quickly going to go back and check to see what may have happened. I know those two were battling pretty close there, but I assume maybe MacAulay just figured something else out better than Belmonte right there. I'm seeing some movements back here. That would be for 16th place between the 36 of Michael Wolford and the number 12 of Mike Marini. Marini, a guy currently below the cut line, definitely needs to get a win in order to have a chance at the Earl Ross Cup Playoffs this year. He could very well get the job done at Daytona, as he, in fact, technically is a winner this season if we count the non-broadcasted Clash test race that we did back at Daytona before the season began. It did kind of happen in controversial fashion. We won't go into any further details on that part, but Marini is a very fast guy on the bigger tracks, especially on the super speedways. It's just a matter of the clutch factor that's really kind of gone against him.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 victories, of course, in his career, both at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park back in seasons 1 and 2. So the success hasn't necessarily translated to the intermediates and super speedways. But again, he's been traditionally a guy that when you need one really fast lap, he'd be one of the first few guys I would look at based on, prior performance. Maybe iRacing changes that a little bit. I mean, the results kind of speak for themselves right now, but certainly seasons 1 through 3, he'd be one of those guys I'd want behind the wheel.
For sure. You can see now Kyle Knoll finally able to get past Dylan Baum, as now Andy Hurdle's going to try and make his way up through the top 10. Hurdle is going to clear Dylan Baum here for 8th place. Hurdle coming off a top 5 back at North Wilkesboro Speedway. I believe that was his first. That probably would be his first ever short track race here on iRacing in the stock cars, and no doubt that he debuted in, I wouldn't say perfect fashion, but maybe for the resume that he brings into the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. Definitely a great finish for him. I mean, knowing that he's 15th in the points right now, that definitely helped him gain an even bigger advantage against the playoff cut line, knowing again where Jason Butler is at plus 17 and then Hurdle at plus 50. So again, unless we see unless we see scenarios that we completely don't expect tonight and at Daytona, Andy Hurdle is very well en route to claiming a spot in the 2023 Earl Ross Cup Playoffs.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because during the pre-race, I may have misread his total at 267, thinking he might have been in a little bit more jeopardy, but 297, yeah, he can breathe a little bit easier, but this is all about building the momentum to go into those playoffs strong. As season 2, I believe he went into round of 12 as we're seeing CD Mangrum head into pit lane.
Indeed, the number 1 car going into pit lane early, and so is the number 64 of Darcy Ford. So one of the Wing Snob cars going in there. Jason Butler would be the other guy sponsoring Wing Snob. So 2 guys that have been here since the very beginning of the Canadian Motorsports Network and the NASCAR Series. Both guys promoting the title sponsor for tonight's race. So no better drivers than them to do such a thing. Justin Belmonte and Andy Hurdle now coming down the pit lane. I believe see another car coming down right there. That is Mike Marini. So Mangrum coming off of pit road. Darcy Ford as well. Belmonte still going in his pit stall. I can only imagine most guys were going for 4 tires and fuel here. Some drivers might be bold enough to try maybe just take 2, but then at the same time, though, we were talking earlier, of course, about how tire wear works at this track. Again, turns 1 and 2. Apologies if that was heard right there, but then again, the turns 1 and 2 can really burn up the right front tires, and then there's, going full throttle on fresh tires through turns 3 and 4, which can burn up the rear tires. So, it's kind of, on both ends, where both ends of the car where tire wear can be extremely crucial based on how you play out your strategies throughout the race, and so far it's looking as though Corbin MacAulay has no problem with that so far, although there has been a couple races in recent weeks where we have seen him deal with setup trouble and even tire wear trouble, and just trying to figure things out. And there's been times where it's taken him time to really adjust here, but that only makes him more fun to think about and talk about whenever he does end up in victory lane. Because then again, though, he may end up dominating races, but he always has to go through some sort of adversity or some form of a challenge to get to that point, and that's what he loves the most about racing here.
Yeah, and you kind of alluded to it there a minute ago. It seems like it's almost always after this first green flag pit stop that MacAulay seems to be kind of finding answers or looking for answers effectively. You see the speed dip, toward the end of stage 1. Obviously, he's got more wiggle room. 6 victories will do that for you. But ultimately, again, he's more often than not finding himself back at the head of the pack before the night ends. And yeah, I would not be entirely surprised to see that pattern continue here tonight. But as you mentioned, I don't think it's going to be the full walk in the park that maybe one would expect based on stats alone.
Indeed, so Scott Bailey leading the way here as 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 cars still have not visited pit road yet. If we look at the pit times, there come a couple guys. Ireland, Mercado, Gibson, Wolford, and Knoll all coming down pit road. Or actually, I would think Knoll's coming back down again. I wonder if he might be dealing with a potential penalty there.
Yeah, I mean, to come back that quickly, you'd have to think that something has gone wrong in some form, but it's not like a concrete time that's being put in place. So I wonder if, there's maybe something a little more to it there for the 15.
So a couple more guys here coming down pit road. That will be Hunter Young and Ryan Gibson. If we look on the track, Dylan Baum is currently leading the way over Bailey, who is now on pit road. Baum still has yet to come down pit road. And indeed he will, and that was a very close call there with the number 6 of Justin Belmonte. Hopefully there was communication there, but that was a very close call there. And we've seen before, too, in real life at Texas Motor Speedway, drivers having conflicts coming onto pit road. It was Quinn Houff, I believe in 2020, I believe was that year, where he was going to come down pit road, but he goes to the inside. Christopher Bell is there. They make contact. Houff hard into the outside wall, so definitely not an ideal situation there. We are very grateful that we didn't get something very similar right there, where Belmonte may have slammed the back of the number 3 right there. But of course that didn't happen, so we're back on track here. Of course, number 17 right back to the lead, almost 5 seconds ahead here of Scott Bailey. So the top 2 guys from North Wilkesboro last Tuesday just right back there at the front of the field.
Yeah, I mean, a 5-second gap whenever you're looking at kind of a 30-ish second lap around this Texas Motor Speedway, that is effectively an eternity. So that tells you just what kind of gap Corbin MacAulay has here. And, just it seems like everything is running as he would expect effectively.
For sure. And I just had to go off the mic right there because I am dealing with under the weather circumstances right now. Thank goodness I didn't say under the influence that time around.
Well, speaking of weather, it might be a good time to check track conditions here.
You know what? Might as well we do. 22 degrees air temperature, 43 degrees Celsius on the track temperature. It is slick.
And I mean, what were you saying about tires absolutely screaming before? 43-degree track temperature certainly wouldn't help that cause either.
Well, yeah, those right front tire. Oh, MacAulay, you were just speaking of that. MacAulay really having trouble there in turn 2 and coming off the corner. Very loose car right there. Commentator's jinx. Congratulations.
Well, I wonder if Scott Bailey just had something as well, as he's just dropped from 2nd to 4th.
Jeez, it's happening all over the place by the looks of it. We'll maybe take the ticker off very quickly here and see what may have happened with him. It might be here. Oh,
I'm just trying to keep it held on here.
Might have gotten the car tight by the looks of it. Might just be dealing with some stuff right there. As there's Ty Higginbottom now getting past Darcy Ford on the inside through turns 3 and 4. I was seeing back here some movement. I think it was between Mercado and Paytac there for 11th place. But now by the looks of it, MacAulay and Belmonte, look at that gap that is now completely coming together. Now Belmonte's going to go to the inside here, the number 17 through turns 3 and 4. I wonder if MacAulay may have burned up the tires too quickly, or maybe is there another issue that we're not aware of?
Yeah, there was just no resistance there whatsoever from the 17 as Belmonte just kind of sails through on that inside line. And I said it during the first pit stop, like, it seems like it's always after this first stop. That would be kind of the one thing you'd kind of nitpick with the 17 season so far, is that, that second green flag run, it just, more often than not, it just hasn't been there for him. And you're seeing the results of it right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if CD Mangrum finds himself right up on the back of that 17 Chevy here before too long. All right, well, for now, anyway, Justin Belmonte does continue to kind of push out that lead a little bit. You see the gap between Belmonte and MacAulay. It's definitely still building up a little bit. I should apologize here that I'm not seeing the timing quite as clearly as Regan does from his side of things. Of course, he's running the operation where I used to. But ultimately, your top 10 is still, fairly solid here right now. Belmonte's still your leader. MacAulay second. CD Mangrum up there in third. Then you've got your 3 past Texas winners running 4 through 6 in the form of Ty Higginbotham, Darcy Ford, and Scott Bailey. Andy Hurdle still 7th. That's where he started here tonight. Jonathan Peden making a decent move up the board. He had qualified outside the top 10 here tonight, but currently running in 8th. Jared Ireland looking to hold on to a spot in the top 10, currently 9th. And behind him, tonight's pole sitter, Dylan Baum, barely holding on to 10th right now. And right now, as we look at stage points, not really a whole lot happening in terms of guys on the bubble. And Andy Hurdle obviously would extend his gap by another 5 points there if he was to finish in 6th. Actually, it looks like there was a move Bailey down into 8th, actually. So he's lost a couple of places here. I wonder if something else is going on with the 88. I know we've talked a little bit about him playing a little bit of the long game here in the past, but it was definitely, he's been up as high as 3rd here this evening, but now seeing him in 8th, I wonder if, again, maybe something is just a little bit off with that car. As it looks like Ireland is, having thoughts about trying to take that position from Mr. Bailey here as we go to another battle on track here. I believe that is Ty Higginbotham I'm seeing, who's moved up to 2nd, actually, ahead of CD Mangrum. So definitely some moves happening in the top 10 now as we're coming toward the end of stage number 1. Still a few laps to burn through just yet, as Jared Ireland does in fact make the move on Scott Bailey for 8th place. And again, Bailey, very much a long game player and not necessarily a concern here right now. If he's unable to find the pace in, say, the final 15 to 20 laps here tonight, then it would be a little bit more concerning. But, there's a track record there for the 88. So if he grabs a couple of stage points, he's well and truly secure in the playoff picture right now. So not really a whole lot to worry about. Just kind of keep things clean from his side, but certainly not, how he would have expected things to go to this point after this first pit stop, as I think Regan might be back with us.
Indeed, I am. I was just checking there to see what was going on. Indeed, it just sounds like a tire wear situation there for the 17. So you can really see him falling really far back. He's now all the way back. Yeah, all the way back to P7 right there. You take that 1 there from his 17, and that puts him right there in the 7th spot behind Jonathan Peden. So again, MacAulay looking good there before the first green flag pit window. But unfortunately, now he's back to 7th place. So as you were saying earlier there too about him, he may start off really well, but then that first green flag pit window, it seems like something happens during then or just after that kind of just goes against the number 17. Then he has to fight through adversity to make his way back up to the front. There's no doubt that he will hopefully have a chance to have such a situation happen, as again, Justin Belmonte's number 6 Ford sponsoring Warrior Wraps. And also, as I see here, Darcy Allen PR, Cudmore Design, or no, sorry, that would be number 2. I made a mistake right there. Apologies. SimSpeed Shop, Warrior Wraps, and Team Watson Racing Setups, driving for his own team, Warrior Racing, from Patchogue, New York. I was actually reading Daniel Cudmore sponsors there. I don't know how the heck that happened, but I guess being under the weather might mean certain things. But anyways, so Belmonte in the lead looking for that first stage victory. Ty Higginbotham in 2nd place. CD Mangrum in 3rd. Ford 4th. Hurdle 5th. Peden 6th. MacAulay in 7th, with Ireland right on his tail looking to gain another extra stage point. Scott Bailey and Jose Mercado wrapping out the top 10. Again, Mercado, a guy trying to have some form of a chance to put himself over the cut line, which is very indeed going to be a must-win situation for him, which he could very well get it done tonight. It would definitely be a shot in the dark for him. And then, again, at Daytona next weekend, we've seen him on the super speedways. He's fast. He's aggressive. And speaking of that, in a way, Belmonte had a very loose moment there coming off the final corners. We are now... Hang on a second here.
Live math happening, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed so. So this is the final lap of the first stage. And are we actually about to get a close finish right here? Belmonte and Higginbottom close there for first place, but I think it's not going to be enough. Barely. Belmonte is barely going to take it over the 97 of Ty Higginbottom for the first stage victory. Ford barely beating Peden there for 5th place. And his 10th place crosses. Scott Bailey crosses the line. There's the caution.
And we should actually talk about that a little bit here, Reegs. The caution, you were talking about different technologies and things you were running. We should probably talk about a new implementation we're working in here tonight.
Indeed so, and that would be iRace Control, another program a little similar to the regular one I'm using from what it would be called, appgeneer.in or however way you might want to put it, but this is another program here that definitely helps out the drivers here, as it gives me an opportunity here to put on automatic stage yellows as the drivers kind of struggling to deal with that, because we have a case here where we're 10th place, that final driver that gains that one final extra stage point. When they cross the line, these drivers want the caution to come out so that stage comes to an end. And you know, everyone gets their points and all that and such, and this program that I'm using here provides a perfect opportunity for me to be able to do that rather than have the drivers, you know, kind of go through their own little potential conflict and trying to get that done, trying to know where everyone is on the track. But this program helps out in doing it automatically, so thank you, iRace Control, for helping us with that. Of course, as everyone comes down the pit lane here, and we'll see what everyone does for their pit stops. Looks as though everyone's going to be going for 4 tires, and I would imagine fuel as well. I would very much question drivers that would want to go on 2 tires, knowing what the tire wear is like here, plus how slick this track surface is. And judging by everyone coming off the pit lane, the number 97 of Ty Higginbottom, that U.S. Air Force Toyota from North Carolina, driving for Tornado Alley E-Racing, is going to come out there on top. So that is the reigning champion. And then second place, the reigning Rookie of the Year, Andy Hurdle up to 3rd, Ireland 4th, MacAulay 5th, Ford 6th, Peden 7th, Dylan Baum in 8th, Scott Bailey 9th, and Mike Marini in 10th. Kyle Knoll is right there, but he is 1 lap down, along with the number 23 of Ryan Gibson, who will now be coming down the pit lane. I would imagine Kyle Knoll might do the same. Indeed he will. Again, lap cars cannot come down pit road until the second time around. Lead lap cars are allowed to come down the first time. So Ty Higginbottom, the number 97 Toyota, leading the way here on lap 56 of 166. So again, the number 6 of Justin Belmonte, actually, had there been one more lap to conclude the stage, Higginbottom definitely would have gotten him. It was almost a photo finish to wrap up the stage there, as Higginbottom looked to have just barely better tire wear than Belmonte. But again, the number 6 still able to hang on.
Yeah, definitely eventful there at the very end. What I'd be curious about, and you probably have more of a window into this than I would, just kind of confirming what that top 10 from stage 1 looked like.
And I was just getting some word right there to make sure that this automatic program was indeed successful. It was.
Hooray!
Indeed a hooray, and I'm just going to see if there's maybe one more thing that was done here. No. Huh. See, I had a thing here where there is automatic stage yellows, but in this little log right here, I'm not seeing the automatic messages where it says it's the final lap of the stage. I don't know what's up with that. But Either way, what did matter was we got the automatic cautions, which matters the most here. That's what we needed. Messages, I don't know for sure if they worked. Again, I can't see what race I can see in this program here there is a race log where you can see everything, race control wise, or at least on my end I believe it does. I don't know if it did in the game or in the service because I don't see it right now. I can actually go into a loop here and check very quickly to see if it did. And I don't think it did, but what does matter is we got the automatic cautions, and it was successful. First time around.
And did it happen to generate that top 10?
Now, in that case, we did see Ty Higginbottom leading the way whenever the caution came out. But again, I did get the word that it was a successful yellow thing. So again, if there are any issues that, if there is anything that comes up post-race, then we will get to that once the race comes to an end. But we're going to have to get back underway here at Texas Motor Speedway. The Wing Snob 250, Stage 2, is about to get underway as the pace car rolls off, and we'll get all 19 cars rolling off the final corner. Ty Higginbottom and C.D. Magrum leading the field back to green. Stage 2 is underway.
And I love that you said it's all 19 still in this here, Riggs. That means we had a relatively clean stage 1, knock on wood. Things have been, going pretty well here so far, as Ireland may have some designs on moving up the board here right away.
You definitely should say knock on wood, because how many times have we seen where the first stage ends up being clean, but then the rest of the way, anything's possible, as you see Darcy Ford getting really loose off the corner there, and about right up against that outside wall through the front stretch dog leg, but he's able to keep his number 64 Chevrolet going. MacAulay down low on him. He's going to pass him for 4th place. Higginbottom still leading the way, but Jared Ireland with a really good restart making his way up to 2nd place over C.D. Magrum. MacAulay very quickly approaching right behind the number 1 car, about near close to bump drafting him. Oh, and Magrum up into the wall right there. I don't know if that might have been a case of net code or maybe a bit of a panic there with the number 17 Holland College Chevrolet right up against his rear bumper. Hopefully that didn't cause any damage to the number 1. As Darcy Ford will try to gain momentum, take advantage there behind him. And right in behind them, Andy Hurdle, right in front of a battle here between Dylan Baum and Jonathan Peden, but Baum's going to clear the way. Peden falling back behind Scott Bailey. He will settle at 9th with Matthew Patek at the bottom of the top 10. And here we go for a battle for the lead. It might become a 3-car battle eventually, as the number 13 of Jared Ireland, again, scoring his first career victory in the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series back in Kansas Speedway. I believe it would have been 3 weeks ago. Taking the lead, as MacAulay will fight Ty Higginbottom for 2nd. It's not even a fight there, actually. He just makes his way right past him for 2nd place. And we're seeing close proximity there for what looked to be about 6th through 8th right there, as Bailey up to 6th. Andy Hurdle 7th. Dylan Baum in 8th. Matthew Patek on the high side there with Peden right in behind him for 9th and 10th.
Yeah, it's funny we come to that visual of the No Limits Texas barrier there on that back straight, because it kind of runs in a little bit of contrast to what I've been seeing in the beginning of stage 2. Yeah, there's been movement throughout the field, but it seems like for the most part, things have been done, respectfully. Like, people are competing, of course, but it's not like door to door just yet. I would imagine that will change as we get to the second half of the race, but right now, things seem to be in relatively good order, it has to be said.
Oh yeah, for sure. We still haven't gotten anything to happen other than some guys having some loose moments off of corner exits. But currently with Jared Ireland, the number 13, leading the way in some battles going on back here towards the bottom of the top 5 and throughout the top 10. Jordy, have you taken the time yet to consider your 3 picks for tonight?
Oh man, I needed more time after taking a drink of water there.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, so again, I kind of went through the 3 past top 5s that we've had here at Texas. And, I think right now I'm thinking like I'm still in the ballpark of Scott Bailey being overdue for a win. And this could be, an opportunity for him. Again, past winner here in season 1. And, a guy that's, he's been outside of Corbin MacAulay, he's been the model of consistency effectively over the course of this season. And I mean, it goes without saying, Corbin MacAulay very much in the conversation here as well, but not to state the obvious. There's definitely a lot of good options here. I think Ty Higginbotham could potentially find himself a repeat winner here at Texas, or at least a candidate for it. But at the same time, looking through the fields, like, without really backing out of the question, there's a number of guys who could very well find themselves as contenders here at the end. And, as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, those margins are just going to get tighter and tighter.
So what would it be? MacAulay, Bailey, and Higginbotham were your choices?
I suppose you could say that. I didn't want to state the obvious with Corbin MacAulay, of course, but
that's fine. You can steal him outright for me.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we'll make sure you don't get to pick the guy on the other side of your wall this time around.
Yeah, every now and then we just got to swap them back and forth, of course, but I
Yes.
I don't know what kind of noise I just heard right there for whatever reason, but we will continue on right there. You pretty much took away 2 of my 3 picks right there, so I'll have to make some changes here, of course. So the one guy that you didn't mention, that the one pick of my picks that you didn't say is a former Texas winner, and that's the number 64 of Darcy Ford.
Another guy that you could suggest is overdue, maybe hasn't, been immediately at the front, but he's been within striking distance.
Like, it's a case where Scott Bailey has been extremely consistent and is very well overdue for win. Darcy Ford, on the other hand, is a guy who has had, like, roller coaster results, but his pace is definitely there to be considered quote-unquote overdue. So it's just kind of different, levels there, different kind of campaigns going on between those two. But, again, Darcy Ford, I guess, say my first pick now, knowing that you took away most of mine right there. But so if I go with Ford to start off there, trying to see who else I can think of here. I think I'll just steal him out right here, even though MacAulay is very clearly catching up to him. I'm going to go with the number 13 of Jared Ireland, who, again, was the driver of the month back in June with many very good finishes. If I can go back and check him and how he did in the month of June. Indeed, he finished 4th 2 races in a row at Michigan and Charlotte, finished 2nd at Talladega, and then he went on to get his first career NASCAR Series victory at Kansas on June 27th, so I might as well steal him outright. He qualified 4th and finished 10th at North Wilkesboro, not too shabby, but I think knowing that the type of season he's had and, getting that win at Kansas, I think he definitely strives for better, which is what he's looking to do here tonight as he currently holds the lead. But again, though, that number 17 is really catching up and coming down to the inside of the number 13, down the back straightaway for the lead. I can only imagine MacAulay probably will clear the number 13 Boot Hill Chevrolet through turns 3 and 4. Actually, no, they're not. No, now they are. There we go. So MacAulay will clear Ireland for the lead. And again, MacAulay, who has led 34 laps now in tonight's Wing Snob 250 at Texas, he'll be en route to 35 here, this time by highest position at 1st and lowest position 8th. But again, going back to the guys, I was thinking of, I said Ford, I said Ireland. If I had to go for a random underdog who I think could have a shot at something, I mean, you were saying earlier too, there are plenty of options. You know what? I'm going to go with the number 21 of Matthew Paytack.
I mean, a past winner this season, why not see him potentially make a move up here? Currently 9th, and, just kind of content to, not get his nose dirty here so far, as we said earlier. After that Atlanta victory, if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all the few weeks that followed. But last week was sort of a return to form for the 21. We'll see if he can build on it.
And that's why I believe he is a fair pick for tonight. Whoa, the number 3 of Dylan Baum having a loose moment there off of turn 2. He's able to keep the car straight. That's a bit of a trend that we've been seeing here throughout this race thus far. We're seeing cars getting loose off a corner exit, but really none of them have really gone fully spinning or partially spinning at all. It's just, some loose moments, but some great saves that we're seeing here throughout the first stage, and I would say about the first half of this second stage, as Matthew Patak, my third and final pick there, going for 8th place against the number 3 of Dylan Baum. But again, going back to what Patak's little snake bite of 4 weeks that he had, 17th, 13th, 16th, and 18th with 2 disconnections due to incidents out of his control, and that's, is kind of dealing with a bit of the Jason Butler curse in a case where there'll just be incidents that happen to someone and they'll really not be of his fault. And speaking of that, we almost had that there as Dylan Baum was not clear. He tried going to the inside into turn 1. He went down into Matthew Patak, and that about right there was almost, that could have right there been a return to having a snake bite for the number 21 of Matthew Patak, and we're definitely going to have to take a look at what just happened there.
Yeah, it looks like Patak maybe getting a little bit of a push coming through the start finish, and yeah, definitely contact between the 21 and the 3.
I think it might, would that be more of a racing incident in this case? Baum goes down, Patak slightly up. I originally thought Patak was the one that went up into him, but I would say Baum was more the one to come down. But I think what matters the most is that both cars are still going straight and just fine. And seeing here, the 88 of Scott Bailey, I believe, is going to be the first guy to begin a green flag pit window here.
And that's an interesting development, actually, because he was one of the later drivers to pit in stage 1.
So maybe trying to do a bit of an opposite of that strategy and seeing if maybe coming in earlier is a different scenario here. And I can really tell how nasally I sound being under the weather here, but did Bailey not? Hang on a second here. So Bailey gets the right side tires. Go, okay. I'll have to make sure one more time right here. Okay, so it's a 2-tire strategy for Bailey here.
And we were wondering about that earlier. This seems like it could be a risk, but if there is time to be saved, it could be something that pays major dividends later on, but you got to get there first.
Indeed so, and again, I was talking about Patak there, those 4 races in a row of incidents and just getting caught up in things out of his control, not of his fault, and then, he rebounds with the 4th place finish in North Wilkesboro, so I think that momentum could very well carry on. And we're seeing more cars coming down pit road as Ford is currently going for a 4-tire pit stop, I would imagine, and some fuel there. And then we got MacAulay down pit road, Jared Ireland and Ty Higginbottom there as well. Tom Janikowski, the number 93, in his pit box. Jason Butler also coming down the pit lane here on lap 82 of 166. Andy Hurdle currently leading the way in his number 7 Cannon Chevrolet. And whatever the hood says there, I cannot tell. So Janikowski's going to come off. Higginbottom also coming off there as well. Butler will come out of his pit stall as well. MacAulay very loose on the apron there, trying to get through turns 1 and 2 on the apron. Down the back straightaway, he'll fall 1 lap down. Andy Hurdle. C.D. Magrum leading the way there in 1st and 2nd. Patak and Justin Belmonte going out of here for 3rd place. And we had a couple cars getting the wall there, I believe. That might have been Mercado and Peden. So Mercado's going to go to the inside here, Paytack for fourth, and a lot of cars shooting up to the high side there as MacAulay on the fresh tires there, getting past about 3 cars right there. It might very well become 4 here against Justin Belmonte. So trying to take advantage of those fresh tires. You can really see him using that inside line there against Belmonte. He'll shoot right past the number 6, and he'll be shooting past plenty more cars here through the dog leg. He'll eventually maybe catch up to Andy Hurdle there, as well as Dylan Baum here in his pit box going for 4 tires. Matthew Paytack also down, coming down pit road. A 15.7 second pit stop there for Baum. Paytack into his pit stall in between Ford and Marini.
Yeah, and we're kind of, as you mentioned, right in the middle of that pit window here now. So, definitely, the guys on the fresher tires, it is a night and day difference seeing that between the drivers who have and drivers who haven't. And I mean, you just saw the proof in the pudding in the form of, our series leader, Corbin MacAulay, just absolutely shooting through a few drivers there as they're trying to make their way in. But what I'll be interested in is to see what degree of, the under or overcut, shall we say, which will pay more dividends here, coming in early or coming in just those couple laps later here in this stage.
Indeed so. Andy Hurdle still leading the way, but Corbin MacAulay right back on the lead lap using those fresh tires to his advantage. He might have very well been able to figure out the tire wear shenanigans that he dealt with back in the first stage, although this does kind of remind me of a similar case with Mark Cox back in North Wilkesboro last Tuesday, where Cox had better tire wear against everyone else, and he shot through the top 10 all the way up to 5th, and I think he was even getting close to the podium. And then all of a sudden, he used his tires up a little bit too fast going through the field, and then he dropped all the way back to the bottom of the top 10 or even outside of it at some point. So hopefully this won't be a similar case here with MacAulay, and he'll be able to instead be able to keep it more safe and be able to come home with the Stage 2 victory, which we still have plenty of time until that point, I believe. It'll be lap 104, which is the final lap of the second stage. So if I do some quick math here, that would be 15 laps to go right now. And so Kyle Knoll, Tom Janikowski again on pit road. I wonder if that might have to do with either maybe some damage or maybe some penalties going on with him. And I am really trying to battle with my sinuses right now. You might want to start talking a little bit for me here.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out a place to work myself in here as Jose Mercado is trying to do that as it relates to the playoff picture right now. Currently leading, but I would have to suggest that he is very much not a driver who's made a pit stop as of yet. And yeah, Mercado's leading this one. Mangrum in second, although I think that may have just changed. I think we got a few pit stops here along the way. And yeah, Mercado staying out for now. CD Mangrum just making his way out. Short stops here, so you have to think maybe there is something to that 2-tire strategy we were talking about. Janikowski in for a significantly longer time here, approaching 2 minutes now by the looks of things. But by comparison to the 6.5 second stop that Hunter Young just had on pit road as he makes his way out. So there must be a bit of a thought here that 2 tires for a 15 lap sprint, or I guess 13 now, maybe that'll generate that little bit of extra pace that's needed.
You may very well, not the fans, but you in particular, you may have just heard me snot, gurgle, and burp all at the same time there.
I think there was an airplane taking off from DFW that I may have heard instead, but yeah, definitely heard some things.
So the leader, Jose Mercado, going to come down pit road. So will the 33 of Jonathan Peden. So that'll be teammates right there coming down the pit lane. And with that, Corbin MacAulay and Scott Bailey are both going to be battling for the lead here Down through the front stretch, dog leg. Jared Ireland following suit behind them. Bailey trying to use the high side to maybe get better. Yeah, high side to low side to maybe get a bit better corner exit there against MacAulay, who was way down on the inside the whole way. But Ireland is very quickly catching up to these other guys here. So again, MacAulay and Bailey, the two guys that we've been really focusing on the past couple of weeks here in the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series for Season 4. Meanwhile, there's the 13 of Jared Ireland, who's really starting to come out as possibly the best rookie. Although Belmonte is over him in points right now, but based on recent results, it might very well be the number 13 of Ireland. Again, the June Driver of the Month, a lot of momentum here for the number 13 Boot Hill Chevrolet in his first season of NASCAR racing from, how would I say that? Eudora, Kansas. That's how I would say it.
And that is how you said it, as a matter of fact.
Indeed. So MacAulay now starting to gain a bit of a distance here over Ireland and Bailey, as Ireland will get past Bailey here for second place here on lap 95 of 166. MacAulay now has led 44 of the 94 laps. Lowest position of 13th, again coming from that recent green flag pit window. We're seeing Jason Butler and Justin Belmonte going at it here for 9th place. So Butler trying to gain that extra stage point, 2 instead of 1. Matthew Patak and Andy Hurdle going at it here for 7th place. The number 21 MBR Motorsports Chevrolet up against the number 7 Cannon Chevy of Andy Hurdle. There's Dylan Baum and Jose Mercado going at it here for 11th place. Two of the most aggressive drivers in the field. I would say that's a way to put it, going at it right there. So MacAulay a half a second over Ireland. I can only imagine he'll probably be en route to a stage victory here, which will be a massive rebound after what we saw in the first stage. With about that, he got really loose off the corner, and he's going to get into the backstretch outside wall, and that's going to cause Ireland... Commentators,
this is a carbon copy here of what we saw in stage 1. MacAulay getting a little bit loose through that turn, but instead of having a significant gap to defend, Jared Ireland is there immediately to pick the bones here on the 17, and he's going to consolidate that move on the inside line, it would appear.
And he's still loose coming off now. Yeah, still loose coming off the corner there. And that's going to only help Ireland get away a little bit more, as now Bailey is... Okay, I believe those are lap cars that Bailey is dealing with. I thought Higginbottom was up there with him, but that wouldn't make sense because it was, again, the top three that were together there for the most part. But Ireland now half a second over MacAulay, who I do wonder if maybe, again, that loose moment off the corner and then getting into the wall might have been a combination of destroying his tires and then also gaining some potential damage on the right side, as he had another loose moment coming off a turn 2. So we were seeing it was looking good for the 17 at first this time around compared to the first stage, but now the 17 is falling back once again, maybe not as extensively this time, as Bailey is now 2.5 seconds behind Ireland, the leader. But again, MacAulay's still dealing with something that is going to very well cause him to not be able to get a stage victory this time around again.
Yeah, it could be one of those things. Again, if there's one guy who does have a little bit of room for experimentation, especially knowing that the third and final stage is going to have an additional 10 laps by comparison to stages 1 and 2, it is Corbin MacAulay, of course, with the 6 victories and God knows how many points right now. But yeah, just a little bit of kind of inconsistency in the car rearing its head again. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's a little bit of testing happening to see what that final green flag pit stop is going to look like.
So Butler and Hurdle are going at it here for 7th place. The number 10 taking advantage here, and Butler again looking for... If I look at the statistics here, this would be, if he was able to keep this pace going, this would be his second top 10 finish of the season. And again, a guy trying to keep a good points gap over the playoff cut line, because then again, though, if we get a winner tonight and at Daytona next Tuesday night, and both winners are guys who are either above the cut line or have already won a race, then he's pretty much, set and all good to have a spot secured in the Earl Ross Cup Playoffs. And that maybe not the best way to earn yourself a spot, a little bit of stress for him, but regardless, it still could very well happen. But then at the same time, though, we still have to complete this race and then again complete another super speedway race I would assume under the lights next Tuesday night. And again, for the type of season Butler's been having, he's had good pace, and he even won the pole back at Talladega, which could very well help him at Daytona next Tuesday night. But again, there's just been so many moments with Butler which have been mostly out of his control that it caused him just to get finishes that are just worse than expected.
And on that very point, actually, I think I'll hold off on that point as we're coming up on that caution, I believe.
Indeed so. With that being said, Jared Ireland, the number 13, is going to take the checkered flag for the second stage. And so he will win with MacAulay second, Bailey third, Ford in fourth, Higginbottom fifth, Patek sixth, Butler in seventh, Hurdle eighth, Magram ninth, and Dylan Baum is going to wrap up the top 10.
Yeah, and just to go back to that Jason Butler point, that is a huge 4 stage points there for the 10. And you mentioned, the pole at Talladega earlier this year. He's also a 2-time pole sitter in the Daytona night race, which, oddly enough, is how we're finishing our regular season once again. However, he's also a 2-time kind of guy left at the altar, finishing 17th in regular season action in both seasons 1 and 2. So definitely looking to take that step forward. He's one of the most kind of laid back guys I've ever been around, but I have to think he's absolutely cracking for a shot at a playoff berth here this time around. 3 seasons, not getting there, finally looking to take the next step this time around.
Indeed so, and we had a bit of a situation there involving the number 15 of Kyle Knoll, who I think has a broken toe link, and he did end up towing, so all good with him as everyone's going to come down the pit lane. Or at least most guys are about 14 cars, because Peden, Gibson, Wolford, Knoll, and Janikowski are all multiple laps down. And looking through the chat here, we got Tom Janikowski with a wave just before the race began, I would imagine. Please don't text and drive. We got 11 people watching here tonight's race thus far with 2 likes, so we appreciate the support from those coming in to watch the action here tonight at Texas Motor Speedway. We got a supporter here for the number 21, a Matthew Paytack, and we got none other than the number 2, a Daniel Cudmore with the Winston Racing Group account watching us here. Indeed has been a very solid race here to watch tonight so far. Again, first 2 stages, the only cautions we've seen have been to end the stages. Again, what's that wood term or whatever that you've been saying, Jordy?
Knock on wood?
Yes, that would be it. Knock on wood. Again, we still have a 3rd stage to do. Anything's possible here at Texas Motor Speedway. So it looks as though MacAulay's actually going to be the leader now after those pit stops. So looking at the race summary here thus far, as all the lap cars are now going to head down pit road. 2 cautions, 6 laps under caution, which is all the stage ending ones, basically, like the ones under the stage cautions. We've had 12 lead changes, which has been very impressive here. I mean, there has obviously been the green flag pit windows and even some lead changes during the stage cautions. Or technically now it's 13 lead changes by the looks of it. We've had 8 different leaders, Fastest lap, of course, no surprise, the number 17 with a 29.938 on lap 63 with I would imagine that's an average speed of 175.5 miles per hour. If we take a look at the weather info here, the track temperature actually has cooled down by about 9 degrees. Zero humidity, wind speed around 20 kilometers per hour, the wind direction of south. I don't have the expertise to know if any of that has anything to do with this, but both the air and the track temperature both have cooled down, not too significantly, but they definitely have dropped. So that might do something here with how the racing goes, but it's still extremely slick here. We've seen a lot of guys here tonight really loose, especially off corner exit. We saw it there with Corbin MacAulay, who was leading the second stage and was, he had the pace there to possibly get the job done, have a, battle that adversity from stage 1, but no, he got loose off of turn 2, right side along that outside wall, and then he fell back only to second, which is better than falling back all the way back to 7th or wherever it was, but still, number 17 will hopefully be looking for something way better here in this third and final stage, especially when that green flag pit window comes around. And we'll even have to see here if we might get some incident-related cautions. Hopefully not. If we get this whole race the whole way green flag racing besides the stage cautions, that would be quite the milestone knowing how races in past weeks have gone.
I know it's July, Riggs, but I would consider that a Christmas miracle if that happened.
That is definitely a way to put it. And these guys, I'm sure, are trying to, I guess in a way, make sure this track doesn't turn into a Walmart. Enough said.
Yes.
So 13 cars on the lead lap. Hunter Young 1 lap down. Jonathan Peden at 3. Ryan Gibson and Michael Wolford are at 4 laps down. Kyle Knoll at 6. Tom Janikowski at 10. Kyle Knoll still on pit road, I assume, trying to fix the damage of that broken toe link. But we're going to try and get something to get underway here as this third and final stage. We'll go back to green here for the Wing Snob 250 at Texas Motor Speedway. We would like to thank TrackCams22.com for providing these custom cameras that you see every week, every Tuesday night, that really enhance and emphasize these broadcasts here for our first season on the iRacing service. So we thank them very much. And as we come to the green here to begin the third and final stage, it's time for the TrackCams22.com. Crank it up. And we have a big crash here on the front straightaway. There goes the green flag runs. There's Ryan Gibson and Andy Hurdle. So under the crank it up, we have a big incident. There's the onboard tab I'm supposed to take off. But we were seeing some... Yeah, I didn't get your I had you still muted there, Jordy, during that. So unfortunately, I didn't get your reactions on that one. But anyways, what does matter here is... we just had something happen. I was just saying there we had cars checking up.
And now Andy Hurdle's checked out.
That too. So we're going to have to see what on earth just happened. Maybe the checkup led into something back here. Oh, Mercado. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
oh.
Through the infield. Oh, man. And what were we saying earlier about Matthew Patak having absolutely no luck?
Yep, we're right back to that.
And then Ryan Gibson getting caught up in the aftermath. Yeah, a couple laps down, but still caught up in it.
So looking at this angle here, see how he just got loose through the grass. I would maybe say nowhere to go, and then Hurdle kind of just getting back in Mercado right there, and then they're all hard into the outside wall. Gibson just, yeah, nowhere to go. Hurdle right down into him, and then Janikowski just trying to avoid Hurdle there, and then about partially spins along that right rear quarter panel. But
yeah, just unable to clear that particular hurdle, for lack of a better term.
I don't know if he's going to like that comment from you.
I'm sure I will say much worse at some point.
Yeah, we'll just go with that. But yeah, just loose off the corner through the grass, and then a right hook. And they say a full speed right hook on a straightaway at a fast intermediate is not the smartest thing to do, but again, they were pretty much already all wrecked anyways, so I guess that's the best way to put it.
That is a Texas-sized flare-up here. The fact that we hadn't had anything on track happen seemed like a matter of time, and yeah, that impact is huge.
Indeed it is, so we'll get Ryan Gibson's angle right here very quickly. Yeah, just, nowhere to go.
No, just kind of got squeezed. And even Butler going through the infield managed to take avoiding action.
Some very hard hits there at the end of the dog leg. Or, yeah, front stretch, whatever you may call it.
And let's see. I'm just going to grab something else, but definitely might be getting a secondary angle of that from one of the drivers involved.
And that would be Andy Hurdle.
Indeed, it would be. Because you saw the same thing I did.
So, and I'm going to also note here, too, along with that incident, well, I mean, aside from it, but we can also say along with it, Kyle Knoll, the number 15, out of this race. Again, had that broken toe link. I believe that's what I saw in the race control chat. 16 laps down now. He is the first DNF of this race. I can only imagine Ryan Gibson. Oh, no, he's going for new tires and maybe even some fuel here, so he's probably still in this one. But it's more so Jose Mercado and Andy Hurdle that I'd be concerned about here, as Hurdle's hood is gone. Left side's even gone. I might be the right side there even too. Mercado going for tires here. And he'll probably go under repair damage there as well. Patak now coming down pit road with a bit of a scrunched up hood. And we're going to be going to green here this time by on lap 121 at a 166. So we were able to get the crank it up going there smoothly, I would say, based on the length And then at the very end of it, we just kind of had a bit of a panic instinct where I still had a bunch of graphics up, but it was just, things were happening all at once, and you go ahead with what you were going to say.
Well, I was going to say we were probably only like half a lap or so away from coming back when this incident happened. And yeah, I'm just taking a look at what we're seeing, kind of that angle again. Like, yeah, Mercado's obviously in the infield taking that closer look. But I wonder if, like, I don't see direct contact necessarily. I'm wondering if maybe netcode came into play there as well. Either way, very unfortunate for, a significant chunk of the field.
Indeed, so that would be one of my picks right there in Paytack. Getting involved now, and then there's Andy Hurdle coming off that top 5 in North Wilkesboro, but unfortunately that momentum's going to be broken off right there as he's now 4 laps down. Jose Mercado as well. So Mercado is most certainly going to be a guy that will have to win next Tuesday night at Daytona. So with all that being said, we're going to get right back to green flag racing here in the third and final stage. It'll be, I believe, 45 laps to go as we are back underway. MacAulay with a huge jump there on that restart. Number 17, Hong College Chevrolet Camaro will shoot away from everyone else with Ireland and Bailey going at it there for second place side by side down the back straightaway. Behind him, CD Magram able to clear ahead of... No, it'll take some time. Now he will be able to be clear over Belmonte, and the number 6 is going to get past Darcy Ford there for 5th place. There's Bauman 7th, Higginbottom 8th, Butler 9th, Mike Marini and Hunter Young are going to go out of here for the bottom of the top 10. Or, actually, that would not be the case as Hunter Young is a lap down. Paytack is as well. He's still here now back on the racetrack. Keaton is there 2 laps down. Wolford at 4. Hurdle and Mercado still in their pit boxes at 6 laps down. Tom Janikowski and Ryan Gibson are both at 10. Gibson on pit road. So... I believe, according to the math, that would give it 18, 17. I believe that would mean 16 cars on track right now. But again, that was a significant part of the field right there that was involved in that incident. There's more trouble. We're going to have another one involved. Belmonte's going to spin back up the... No, he's going to save it.
Yeah, hopefully the guys aren't trying to make up for lost time here with the first clean 100 laps or so. Because, yeah, that's a couple where, we talked about things getting tighter and tighter as we go along. We just saw evidence of it again, but we remain green, notably.
We stay green as everyone is able to keep their cars straight and racing. But we are definitely going to have to go back and check out what just happened there. Down the back straightaway. So it started with CD Magram. Look at the chopper angle this one. So Magram loose off the corner. He still kept it loose. And then Belmonte into the back of him. Magram hard with the left side and the inside wall. Ford into the back of Belmonte. The 6 able to keep it going straight. Amazing that no cars fully spun there, but there's going to definitely be good damage there to Magram and maybe even Ford. Don't know about Belmonte. Maybe the rear end.
Well, it was Belmonte who provided the initial tap on Magram there, if memory serves. And then, yeah, got the rear end from Darcy Ford as Magram comes in. But obviously, as soon as you make that level of a hit on the front, that momentum stalls. Effectively, Darcy Ford really had nowhere to go after that, coming out of turn 2 onto that back straight. He was... passenger is not the right term, but yeah, just kind of didn't really have an option.
No option there whatsoever. So that was another significant part of the field right there that just encountered something, although they ended up maybe a little bit luckier. Magram's going to go 1 lap down now into 11th as Hunter Young will move up into the top 10. And we're seeing here MacAulay by about 0.03 of a second here over the other 2 cars here on the podium as Bailey and Ireland are going at it here for second place. I believe Bailey made the pass a couple laps prior while we were focusing on what just happened there. Dylan Baum making his way up to 4th after being somewhere in about 7th or 8th.
Down in 10th at one point earlier in the races. Mangram's coming back out.
The number 1 Chevrolet coming back out onto the track through the turns 1 and 2 apron off a pit road. And I believe Peden might have just had a bit of a moment there if my eyes served correctly, but Bailey is slowly catching up here to the 17, now down to 0.02 of a second.
Yeah, and Ireland very much not out of the picture here either.
Or actually, okay, you have to teach me a math lesson here. Is it 2/10 or hundredths?
Which numbers are you looking at?
It would be Bailey's at 0.22, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's 2/10 back of
Corbin
MacAulay
yes,
right
it'd
now.
be tenths.
Yeah, so it goes tenths,
yes,
hundredths, then thousands.
Yes, I am not a math wizard. I am very dumb, I can confirm.
Well, whoever gets to the line first is ultimately what matters. And, a guy who's still very much in contention for that is Jared Ireland in third, which seems like a good opportunity here for us, Reegs, to shoehorn the fact that a few of our guys, including Jared Ireland, along with Andy Hurdle, Ryan Gibson, and Michael Langley, who picked up the win in our first network special event, that 6 hours of Daytona, they're running as a team in the Spa 24 hours this coming weekend here for us, and they're going to be running a Canadian E-Motorsports Network livery there. So that is awesome to see, and they'll be running a Ferrari 488 GT3 in that. So best of luck to those 4 gents right there.
Indeed so. So the top 3 kind of remaining in a bit of an equal separation between each other. Although Bailey is actually starting to decrease the gap now, as it's now down to 1/10 of a second here behind the 17. And they're going at it here as we are now down to 33 laps to go, and the number 33 currently sitting in 12th at 2 laps down, trying to get past Michael Wolford here, who's 4 laps down back in 14th. Now, Bailey may have just had a moment there while we were looking back on Peden, as now he's dropped back to 0.3. And they're catching up to a lap car. If trying to see what it is. No, it would be Magram, I believe. Or, no, it's... where is everyone? It'd be Tom Janikowski that they'd be catching up to, and you go ahead with what you were saying.
Well, what I was going to get at before Bailey kind of fell back there a little bit, I was wondering, like, he's typically, we've mentioned it a couple of times over the course of the season, he's a guy who knows how to plan for the long run. I was wondering if maybe he was going to try and put a little bit of pressure on Corbin MacAulay at the head of the field, because undoubtedly he would know that he's cooked the tires twice on green flag stints, maybe forcing him to push a little bit harder here despite having the 74 laps led. But ultimately, again, it seems like Scott Bailey himself might have had a little bit of a moment as he's coming under pressure here from Jared Ireland, who's looking to make the move back to second.
And he's barely going to clear him here, or Bailey going to clear him. I really tried there. I apologize. But the number 13 is going to take second place away from the 88.
You had to bail out of that one.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll use that one too. The number 3.
Let's go.
Yes. The number 3 Toyota, Dylan Baum, trying to catch up here to these 2 guys battling it out for second here. They're slowing themselves down enough, battling here with what was originally side-by-side here, and that's giving a good advantage here for number 3, who had a bit of a moment there off of turn 4 getting loose, but he's going to be able to keep it going as we're now down to 30 laps to go in the Wing Snob 250, and I was so focused on the Crank It Up that we forgot to shout out our other sponsors here, but we might as well, that we have time after Dylan Baum may have just had another moment there off of turn 2. The Holland Hurricanes, Kyle's Fried Chicken, Rampage Coffee Co., Wing Snob, and GTR are all sponsors of the Canadian Motorsports Network, as you can see on the very bottom of the scoring ticker. So we thank all those businesses very much for their support for the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series here on iRacing for Season 4. And I can give you another DNF update here as we can see as the camera goes to nothing. The number 41 of Jose Mercado out of this race. Andy Hurdle still on pit road, trying to see if he can maybe get some final laps in towards the end. I don't know if that will be possible, but we'll have to see. Ryan Gibson's still in his pit box at 27 laps down. Meanwhile, MacAulay still leading the way here by 0.4 over Jared Ireland. Scott Bailey dropping back here while Dylan Baum tries to catch up as much as he possibly can. Ty Higginbottom just barely ahead there of Tom Janikowski, another lap car, 12 laps down in 15th. Belmonte about 3 seconds-ish behind Higginbottom. As we are seeing a car coming down pit road, that would be Scott Bailey. So is Ty Higginbottom. I think we might be seeing the green flag pit window here in this third and final stage. And we'll see, based on pit stop times, yes. Or actually, no, never mind. Hurdle and Gibson are trying to set Guinness World Records, just like we saw back at that special event race we had with the GT3s at Daytona.
Indeed so, and I was wondering when this pit window would come, and this seems about right if you think about that caution earlier in stage 3, the incident caution, of course, because if you think of when that happened and the laps that kind of went through, it effectively shortened the rest of this stage to be very, very similar in terms of feeling to stage 1 and 2, along with the distance. So, kind of a smart idea to, spread it out a little bit. It's kind of like a 25-26 lap sprint here toward the very end. So that does effectively cut it in half based on the time remaining. So it'll be very interesting to see who ultimately is able to hold on here as we've got more cars coming into pit lane. And do I have a play-by-play back? Not quite yet, I don't think. Yes, we do.
I made you hear another airplane go off for, I believe that was like the 4th or 5th time or something there. But everyone now making their green flag pit stops.
I thought you were on location from NASA.
Or NASA, SpaceX, whatever. I mean, we've seen other guys do. We've seen drivers do that this season, including Mike Marini twice, C.D. Magram once. And we might very well see another one at Daytona next Tuesday night, but we will keep that out of the discussion until we get to that point. But,
still got Texas to navigate.
Well, yeah, sure. Maybe we have something happen, but so yeah, Mike Marini currently leading the way. As I'm trying to see, oh yeah, a bit of a troubling pit entry there for someone. That was, I believe, Hunter Young that had some trouble coming down the pit lane. But what I did notice there are Scott Bailey and Ty Higginbottom both came down the pit lane and they got their tires. But then we're seeing a bunch of other guys, including Corbin MacAulay, who decided to pit about a lap or two later and has fresh, and he and many others have fresher tires, so it's going to be very interesting to see here as we wind down to 20 laps to go in the Wing Snob 250. In another 2 laps here, or I think it'd actually be 3 laps. We are going to see some interesting strategies come into play here unless we decide to have another incident-related caution, which hopefully not. We'd love to stick to just one and then the stage cautions, because this race, whenever it's been, green flag racing, we've really seen a lot of interesting strategies come through, and we've seen some pretty good battles throughout the field. We almost had a second incident-related caution, actually, but thankfully everyone was able to keep their cars straight, except, though, for the fact that a guy like C.D. Magram took a lot of damage there on the backstretch into the inside wall, and then I believe he may have gotten hit from behind as well. So, just going to have to wait and see as Mike Marini trying to lead some laps here. He's now led 4 laps here in the Wing Snob 250 here. Trying to maybe trying to gain some points. Maybe have somewhat of a advantage heading into Daytona next Tuesday night, but it's pretty much inevitable that he's going to have to win in order to gain a spot in the Earl Ross Cup playoffs, as here comes Ty Higginbottom there on the fresher tires to pass him and get back on the lead lap. We already have Jared Ireland and Corbin MacAulay and Scott Bailey and Dylan Baum all back on the lead lap with their fresher tires, as Marini still has yet to come down pit road. But Ireland leading the way here with 18 laps to go. And, yeah, seeing some discussions going on there behind the scenes with Hurdle.
Yeah, I am seeing the same things, yes. But, yeah, ultimately, what you saw on the track, like, it's, things happened. And, I mean, it is Texas. It took a lot longer for things to happen than perhaps we expected. But they did, and now, again, we're up to, 16, 17 laps to go, somewhere in that ballpark. And it's very interesting here. Like, you see the gap just absolutely getting shredded here. I wonder if Mike Marini maybe left it a lap too long here, as everyone's just coming up there. He's in pit lane.
Indeed, so
he
we now
along with Michael Wolford.
Indeed, he will come down pit road along with Michael Wolford there as well. So Jared Ireland becomes the new leader here at Texas Motor Speedway, although MacAulay under half a second, catching up very quickly here to number 13. So these two guys trying to do what was practically the opposite back at Kansas Speedway 3 Tuesday nights ago, as it was a flip at Kansas, not literally, but maybe literally, but anyways, MacAulay was the leader. Ireland was better with the tires, and Ireland was able to prevail there with that pass with 2 laps to go, and then MacAulay and Bailey going out there for second place. But it seems like it will be an opposite effect here, as MacAulay will be the one catching up to Ireland and battling it out, maybe seeing if he will end up being the winner. He's looking for his second win in a row after winning at North Wilkesboro last Tuesday night. He's looking for his 7th win in 12 races. And he is right there at 1 to 2/10 of a second there behind. There is no doubt that he will get up to him here, unless maybe something happens in another part of the field.
And don't forget how the runs have gone post green flag pit stop here so far. There's been a snap in each instance here so far for the 17. So it's a matter of just kind of keeping it clean and trying to, just make sure he can stay on a line and not have it get super loose on him, as it has already a couple of times. Now, again, the track cooling down, that may very well help him with that, as our top two work their way through CD Mangrum there. But yeah, ultimately, it'll be a very delicate balance to figure out when to push. And yes, he's right there as it is, but when to kind of make that move on Ireland, because that 13's not going to want to give this up either. 2 wins in 3 races.
Oh,
hell yeah, I'd want that momentum.
And about that, Ireland, I think, just had a moment there off of turn 2. Getting a little loose on the rear end, so that's going to help the 17 catch back up, as it actually kind of seemed as though the 17 was catching up, but then kind of losing a tad bit of ground. But again, something we've been mentioning it and witnessing it with the past 2 stages here, and I'm going to point out here, I'm surprised I haven't yet, but again, we saw in those first 2 stages, again, MacAulay having a good car at the start, and then those green flag pit windows come through, and then he does good to start, but then it just seems like, he has those issues keeping the tires good. It does make me wonder this time around, him trying to catch up to Ireland, are those same issues going to keep happening here if he tries a little too hard to catch up to the 13? Again, will we see the same thing that we saw back at Kansas, or will MacAulay be able to barely gain ground this time around? And it looks as though he's it's just back and forth. He'll gain a little bit, then he'll lose a bit, and it's just staying relatively the same as the number 13 comes to 10 laps to go in the Wing Snob 250 here at Texas Motor Speedway, round 12 of 20. We're again very, very close here to on the schedule. We will be one race left in the regular season for Season 4 of the Canadian Motorsports NASCAR Series. And then the Earl Ross Cup Playoffs will begin 2 Tuesdays from now at, that would be Richmond. So we would be starting off with, again, how many times did I say first and only short track race of the season at North Wilkesboro, but yet Richmond was there the whole time.
Well, I didn't catch you on that either, so that goes two ways.
Yeah. But Ireland had another moment there, but it actually is looking as though MacAulay's tire wear issues might be continuing, as Ireland is now pulled ahead by about half a second. Now it's just barely over that, as MacAulay is beginning to drop back here in the number 13. Again, his first season of NASCAR racing here in the network, looking for his second victory within 3 races, and I guess you could technically say 3 race weeks, or realistically 4, but we will not talk about that. So the top 2 keeping quite the distance ahead of third place of Bailey, who is 5.5 seconds behind the leader. So unless something happens towards the back of the field, again, 9 cars here on the lead lap, unless something else happens towards any of those areas, Ireland may very well be on his way to his second career victory in the series. You know, just continuing to certify that playoff spot and gain some good points.
And that'd be back-to-back intermediates for him, too.
Yes, it would be back-to-back intermediates for him, and it would only give him a couple extra points heading into the playoffs, which will be very integral for him, especially knowing the first round will be at Richmond and Kansas. And again, too, Kansas, one of those 2 tracks in the first round, Ireland won there a couple weeks back, so that very well could help his momentum. And Corbin MacAulay into the outside wall in the backstretch. He got loose off of turn 2. He keeps his car straight, no caution.
But a lot more breathing room for Jared Ireland.
Indeed, so we will just take a very minor look here what happened. Yeah, just loose off the corner and then, you know, wheel locking it into the outside wall. Marini getting past just fine, but now the number 17 is about to be 3 seconds behind Ireland, so at this point I would say unless something catastrophic happens or something happens somewhere else in the field, the number 13, Jared Ireland, is on his way to 2 intermediate victories in a row and his second career victory.
Yeah, and it's weird to see that tire issue plague MacAulay for the entire race here. Like, yeah, he would have wanted to keep pushing Ireland, maybe try and get him to cook his own tires, but usually whenever something like that happens, it's usually just kind of confined to that first stage. We've seen it happen every time post green flag pit stop tonight. And yeah, I know these things have a way of happening in 3s, but it's definitely an unexpected development here for Corbin MacAulay, but it's one that I'm sure Jared Ireland appreciates, as he's just got to keep it clean here to the checkered.
Indeed, 3 laps to go in the Wing Snob 250. 8 cars on the lead lap. So just looking at the result, looking at what will likely be the results right now, Darcy Ford going to get another top 10. Jason Butler's going to get his first top 10 since I think, as I read it earlier, actually he has 2 top 10s, so I am blind. Actually, this would be his 3rd top 10 within the last 6 races. So not too shabby for a guy who's trying to, you know, have a bigger point gap heading into Daytona. But then again, though, it would just be a matter, I would say next Tuesday night, it'll be a matter of if someone below the cut line wins, then that would be his spot taken away. But, and then Mike Marini would be coming home with a solid top 10 finish as the white flag is out. Final lap here at Texas Motor Speedway for the number 13 of Jared Ireland, who can pretty much at this point just cruise to a victory.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of found himself right place, right time here and was able to withstand the challenge. And as he comes through turns 3 and 4, this is all you from here.
Indeed it is. So coming off the final corner, there'll be 2 intermediate victories in a row. The number 13 of Jared Ireland is going to take the checkered flag. He will win the 2023 Wing Snob 250 at Texas Motor Speedway. And that'll only give him more extra points heading into the Earl Ross Cup Playoffs.
Yeah, came into tonight as the 3 seed based on the number of wins, but based on the results, there's potential that he jumps Justin Belmonte for that number 2 spot. We'll have to see what the final numbers look like. But yeah, 2 wins in 3 race weeks here for the 13. He is finding the momentum at absolutely the right time here.
Bailey giving the lub tap right there as there's cars having trouble coming off of turn 4. There are multiple cars dealing with stuff there on the pit lane. And there is Jared Ireland going for the celebration here on the front straightaway at Texas Motor Speedway. He'll be able to put the cowboy hat on, have some things in his hands, if that's the proper way to put it.
Oh man, you just opened up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, pretty much. He is smoking up those rear tires. I think Bailey tried to give him almost a love tap right there, but Ireland completely moved out of the way there in that case.
Well, I mean, Bailey also completes the podium, so I think he's just trying to find a position.
Indeed, waiting for MacAulay, the number 17, to catch up here to the start-finish line. I would imagine he'll probably have to go to the middle here. If he eventually does, or no, he's going to go to the inside, actually. Bailey, I don't know if he'll move or he'll just stick at where he is. But, again, that is your podium right there. That's a rookie over a guy who's been here since the very beginning, and then another guy who took a break last year. And he certainly isn't this year. Again, still hasn't been able to visit Victory Lane, but he's still been extremely consistent. And he's back on the podium once more for, if I check here, check his statistics very quickly here, this would be his 3rd podium in a row.
Yeah, like we said earlier, model consistency here outside of course, the guy leading the overall standings, but definitely head and shoulders the best driver without a victory this year. But we're looking at a potential challenge emerging in the form of Jared Ireland here again. 2 wins in 3 race weeks. I would say look out here once the playoffs begin.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, again, 15 points separating Belmonte and Ireland in the rookie standings, so we very well could see a new leader in those standings come Daytona. But with all that being said, here are your Wing Snob 250 unofficial results here. The number 13 in Jared Ireland claiming his 2nd career victory in the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series, 2 intermediate victories in a row. Very well deserving for the number 13. Corbin MacAulay coming up just short there in 2nd place. Scott Bailey in the number 88 will round out the podium. His, again, we said a few moments ago there, his 3rd podium in a row. The number 97 of Ty Higginbottom coming home 4th. A very solid finish for him. Rounding out the top 5 will be the number 6 of Justin Belmonte, who, again, that 5th place finish and to that stage 1 victory, that very close one over Ty Higginbottom, could still help him maybe be able to maintain the lead in the rookie standings. There's the number 3, another rookie in Dylan Baum, coming home in 6th place right there. There's the number 64 of Darcy Ford in 7th place, another top 10 for him. There's Jason Butler in 8th, claiming his 3rd top 10 of the season. Mike Marini, stellar 9th place run right there, 1 lap down. And then there's the number 33 of Jonathan Peden coming home at the bottom of the top 10, 2 laps down. So only 8 cars finishing the race on the lead lap. But again, still solid finishes from Marini and Peden, and I'll let you take it the rest of the way for the remainder of the results.
All right, yeah, looking at the second half of the field here, we've got a few guys finishing 3 laps down. Hunter Young 11th, Matthew Paytak 12th. Of course, he was caught up in that big incident there to begin stage 3, but ultimately comes home 3 laps down, as does CD Mangrum in 13th. Michael Wolford 4 laps down in 14th. Tom Janikowski a few more down, 12 to be specific, in 15th. And then you've got 3 of the guys, or the 3 kind of major protagonists or most affected by that incident, shall we say. Ryan Gibson 16th, Andy Hurdle 17th, Jose Mercado 18th, and then of course we had the DNF from Kyle Knoll a little bit earlier. We suspect a broken toe link on that front, but overall, just the one incident caution, and I think we'll talk about this in a minute. You know what? Pretty decent evening of racing all the way around.
Indeed so, indeed so. So, with all that being said, those are your official results here, of course, and we'll get back to our faces here, just making sure the proportions are just right, but looks like they are. So, again, back here in the commentary booth, that was the Wing Snob 250 at Texas Motor Speedway, round 12 of 20. Jared Ireland getting the job done for his second career victory, of course, but now, Jordy, one race remaining in the regular season here of Season 4 for the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. One race remaining for those guys below the playoff cut line to have a shot to win their way into the playoffs. And again, there's that guy in Jason Butler, again, that solid top 10, which gives him the advantage over the cut line, but there still is that chance for guys below the cut line to steal that spot away by, getting the job done. And again, to Daytona International Speedway to wrap up the regular season, just like the real-life NASCAR Cup Series. What are your thoughts? I mean, I guess you could literally say anything when it comes to Daytona, knowing what we saw back at race 1.
I think you pretty well said anything that could be said. Like, really,
yeah.
One race left in the regular season. There really isn't much more that needs to be said other than that. If you're outside the top 16 right now, very simple. Win and you're in. That's literally what it boils down to here. And again, with Jason Butler turning in a decent finish here tonight, he will extend that gap at the bubble, projecting right around 30 points, somewhere in that block, maybe 25, somewhere in that area. Those stage points in stage 2 really helping him out there. But yeah, ultimately, as you say, Daytona, the super speedway vibes, anything can happen there, but you do have to be there at the end. Obviously, different dynamics with the night race and, 50 miles shorter compared to how we opened the season. But you know what? As much as the drivers are going to kind of be together primarily in kind of pack forms for the majority of the evening, that room's just going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. And, the end of next week, we're going to have our playoff field. So literally, this is kind of last chance saloon here as we are going to say goodbye to Texas here and look forward to that as I go upside down.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is we might literally end up seeing drivers do just that next week. It very well could happen. I mean, we saw it back
I'm
with
sure someone outside the top 16 would love to turn the playoff picture upside down at the very end.
Yeah, that's a more positive way of putting it there for sure. See that perfectly right there. Still dealing with under the weather. Meanwhile, you're hearing airplanes going off in your headphones, of course. But anyways, right back on topic, of course. That does it tonight here for the both of us. Between Jordan and I, I'm going to go ahead and get to Jared Ireland here for the second time here in 3 race weeks for another post-race winner interview. So Daytona International Speedway next Tuesday night, Jordy. Again, thank you very much for your very educational and integral insight as per usual. Again, Jordy Care since the beginning. Again, thank you very much, and we'll see you at Daytona next week.
Yes, that'll be very, very interesting.
Yeah, and hopefully I'm healthier by then as well. So, obviously, don't go away. We still have an interview to do with tonight's Wing Snob 250 winner at Texas Motor Speedway. 2 intermediate victories in a row, second career victory. Jared Ireland, number 13 Chevrolet. Stay tuned. We will be back. Don't go away. Alrighty, folks, we are back at here now for the post-race interview with the winner, number 13, Jared Ireland, the rookie, claiming his second career victory in the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series, his second intermediate victory in a row as well after winning at Kansas. That would have been 3 weeks ago, if my math serves correctly there. But Jared Ireland, man, that's 2 victories in 3 race weeks. How does it feel, buddy?
Feels good, man. If I remember right, a couple weeks ago, I told you we were going to get hot. Like the couple tracks that we had coming up, and man, it feels good. It was a good one. It was a good one tonight.
Indeed, so go through how that race was from your perspective, and having a battle with guys like Corbin MacAulay and Scott Bailey there. Again, those 2 guys have statistically been the best drivers this season thus far, but maybe you're starting to kind of get into their territory now with these recent 2 victories now. So just take us through how the race went overall for you.
Yeah, that first stage, I knew I always wanted to save tires. And so that first stage, I knew I had a good enough long run speed to save 2 sets for the final stage. And that first stage, guys took tires, and it didn't surprise me. And I finished 7th. And then that second stage, took 2 tires there, and thought that was the right play. And those tires can equalize, and I noticed Corbin kind of burned his stuff up a little bit, and I won that stage. And then the final there, I thought that was the right play again. I kind of had a feeling if I could get out in front of him and take care of my stuff and let him come at me, that he may burn his stuff up, and that's kind of exactly what happened, at least from what I could tell. And it played right into my hands. I love a race that requires a little bit of time saving, so it fit right in my alley.
Indeed, so we enjoy hearing drivers who love to take on a challenge, especially a guy like Corbin MacAulay. But again, as I was saying earlier, you're entering into that territory there with guys like MacAulay and Bailey as well, and you might even potentially after tonight put yourself over Justin Belmonte as the top rookie here this season thus far, with the regular season winding down, 1 more race remaining next week. But one question I do have for you is what's been going on recently and how your campaign's been going overall? Has it really, gone along with your expectations? Has it fulfilled them? Has it extensively exceeded them? Where were your kind of expectations been lying, and how has it been, correlating and, relating to how you've been doing as of recently?
Yeah, the longer I've gotten on here, the more confidence I've gotten. In the beginning, I was fine with, if I could walk away with the top 5, we'd be good. And I think I've tried to be more of a gentleman racer here lately, with trying not to get, let my nose get in too much. And it's starting to pay itself off. And, once I got that first win, everything after that was gravy. My expectations were, if you make it to the championship 4, that was a pretty good year. And now it's starting to look like, well, if we don't get to the 4, that might be a disappointment. And so, I got all the confidence in the world. Still got really good tracks coming up that fit my eye. And, these guys are so good. Week in and week out, you got to run a perfect race for them. And so, Corbin and Scott were so good tonight. And it was good to, come out on top and show that, we're a force to be reckoned with down the stretch here.
Oh yeah, you are definitely beginning to become a force to be reckoned with in the recent weeks, and you mentioned too some tracks that could definitely be up your alley, knowing that Kansas race 2 of round 1 in the Earl Ross Cup Playoffs. I mean, you won back there. You won back at Kansas a couple weeks ago, so you could very well be able to continue that momentum and help yourself into the second round. But of course, we're not there just yet. We still, even though you already, have your playoff spot locked in, you're getting those extra points to help you come playoff time. There's still, of course, is that 1 race to cap off, the regular season. We remember you finishing 2nd back at Talladega. Will that momentum be able to continue on? What are your expectations heading into the final regular season race at Daytona, of all places?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race because it's not as wide as Talladega. Talladega you can get three wide and really race, where at Daytona, I think we're going to see more 2 wide. When we get 3 wide, we're probably going to, stack them up a couple times. So, you know, Daytona really is just win or die. At this point, you know, we're the last race of the season, the regular season that is, we're just trying to win. And I imagine next week's going to have some chaos because there's going to be some guys that need a win, some guys that are sitting on the cutoff line. And, you know, I'm just going to do what I've been doing and just try to keep my nose clean, not put it where it doesn't need to be. And I'm sure if we do that, we'll be there at the end again.
For sure. And do you have anyone to thank in particular here for tonight's victory and just, you know, your overall season? Any support that you got behind you that you would like to, you know, give a shout out to?
Yeah, so this year I've kind of been racing as an affiliate guy called the NDR guys. So, you know, Scott Bailey and Ryan Gibson and Paytack and Langley and those guys, they've really done a lot, and Wolfers obviously too. They've done a lot, man, to help me out and get me to where I'm at today. So without those guys, I don't know where I'd be. But, you know, I'd like not really much else I'd like to thank. You know, I got some family that watches, so I'd like to thank them for tuning in. Yeah, we're going in a good way.
For sure. And we thank your family, of course, for supporting, as you say right there. But, of course, that does it here for this post-race winner interview with the number 13 of Jared Ireland's second career victory in the series, second win of the season, second intermediate victory in a row. Jared, congratulations on the second victory within 3 race weeks, and go celebrate the victory another victory once more, and we'll see you back at Daytona next Tuesday night.
Yeah, buddy, stay after it. We'll see you then.
All righty, buddy. And with that, folks, that will do it for tonight's live production here of the Canadian Motorsports Network and the NASCAR Series for Season 4 on iRacing. That was the Wing Snob 250 at Texas Motor Speedway, round 12 of 20. But now, next Tuesday night, we will cap off the regular season with one more race at Daytona International Speedway. Where else could we possibly cap off the regular season? Just like the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, we will find out if a driver below the playoff cut line will be able to take advantage of the win-and-in format and possibly take a driver like Jason Butler out of playoff contention. And again, guys like Daniel Cudmore, Mark Cox, Jose Mercado, Mike Marini, all those guys have been very, very fast on the bigger tracks, especially the super speedways. So we'll have to see what happens when we get there next Tuesday night. So we will see you then. One more thing just to make sure of the official date. Yes, next Tuesday night, July 25th, 2023, the Firecracker 200 at Daytona International Speedway, round 13 of 20 to cap off the regular season, and then we will begin the 2023 Earl Ross Cup Playoffs. So we thank you all for listening and watching to this live production of Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series Season 4 in iRacing. We will see you next Tuesday night for the Firecracker 200 at Daytona International Speedway. Take care and have a good one. We hope you enjoyed tonight's stream.